Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to CU Boulder's Women and Gender Studies Commencement Ceremony. My name is Emmanuel David, and it is my great honor to serve as the Master of Ceremony today. To begin, I would like to ask everyone to please rise, those of you who are able, and join me in welcoming the graduating class of 2017. Please be seated. All right, hello graduates, faculty, family, friends, alumni, and distinguished guests. I'm delighted to welcome all of you to our graduation. Again, my name is Emmanuel David, and I'm an assistant professor in the department. To the class of 2017, on behalf of my colleagues on stage, and colleagues throughout the university, let me begin by congratulating you on your outstanding achievements. We are all so very proud of you. To start our ceremony, we have a very special treat for you, an original poem by one of our graduating students, Jocelyn Becerra Garcia. Please join me in welcoming Jocelyn to the stage.
I haven't named this poem, so if you have any ideas, then please let me know. But for now, it's nameless. Okay. I just named it Poem for Graduation. Women and Gender Studies, huh? What are you going to do with that? Oh, so you're a feminist. Do you learn about women? Why isn't there a men's studies program? How do I answer these with just one sentence? Answering gently is like trying to pour an ocean into a teacup. It's impossible to spill an easy answer onto your lap without expecting disaster, without flooding a room. But I learned how to swim after drowning in feminist theory, research articles, ethnographies, my thoughts, and found that this knowledge is a key. It unlocks doors, even after you keep changing the locks. This knowledge is a thread that keeps the edges of the world from unraveling into war. This knowledge escapes the four walls of a classroom and follows me into the night until I trap it in the pages of my journal. It unleashes itself from simple answers and searches for contradictions. This knowledge is carved on my grandmother's palms, and it taught me that there's a difference between education and knowledge, that being poor is not equivalent to being unable to think, that this world is asymmetrical, but just because you have less does not mean you are less. This knowledge is forbidden fruit. I crave it, I devour it, I save the seeds. Seeds that history tried to bury, burn, forget. Seeds that were planted by Bell Hooks and Chandra Mohanty, Dean Spade, our mothers and grandmothers, and many more. And now it's my turn to landscape deserts into jungles, plant my own seeds so that they grow into wild trees that will take up so much space you have no choice but to notice them. They'll also bear forbidden fruit, so stretch your mouth around its sweetness. Let it feed your growling stomach. Let it fill you with knowledge until you have a stomachache, so that you eventually know the answer to why I'm a feminist, why I'm studying women and gender studies, and why there is no men's studies program.
Thank you, Jocelyn, for sharing your words with us. They were quite moving and beautiful. Now it is my pleasure to introduce to you the department chair, Professor Lorraine Bayer-Davolo.
Thank you. As a chair, I welcome you to Women Gender Studies graduation. CU was home to one of the very first women's studies programs in the country, indeed in the world. And we received some great news about our teaching faculty this morning that I want to share with you and share with the faculty, because I think most of them don't know. Professor Celeste Montoya is one of this year's recipients of the Best Should Teach Gold Award for Excellence in Teaching and Outstanding Contributions to Improving Higher Education at the University of Colorado, Boulder. We just found out this morning, so it's a great day to share that. So given the energy I feel in the room, our majors and minors are justifiably proud to be part of this intellectual tradition. Women and Gender Studies is an academic discipline, but our origins are tied to social movement, rooted originally in women's rights and feminism, but now incorporating an even more comprehensive vision of rights that extend to gender identity, sexuality, race, ability, and beyond. We wouldn't be here without social activism. So, that's it. And our 2017 graduates are a wonderful representation of the Women and Gender Studies commitment to justice and change. And if you'll bear with me, I'd like to brag a bit more about the degree that we're conferring today, because these students have so much to be proud of. Women and Gender Studies students are committed to academia and service to the community. Our majors consistently have been recipients of the highest and most select undergraduate honors given in the College of Arts and Sciences for academic excellence, as well as their extracurricular and volunteer pursuits. Women and Gender Studies is often the top-ranking department in the social sciences for percentages of majors graduating with honors, and often in the top 10% in the college. The average GPA for Women and Gender Studies majors is consistently and substantially higher than the average in the college. Women and Gender Studies majors are clearly excelling across their courses at CU, and our Women Gender Studies minors are equally impressive. Many of our students retain these high GPAs while pursuing additional majors and minors. Over 3/4 of our Women Gender Studies majors have a double major, not to mention their paid work and their volunteer pursuits as they set their sights on social change, both large and small. Studies with a WGST major or minor from CU Boulder graduate with highly desirable skills in critical thinking and creative and complex problem solving, collaboration, and communication. They leave here with a local and global outlook with plenty to say to a changing world. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Professor Boulder. So CU Boulder became home to one of the country's first women's studies programs in the early spring of 1974. Amidst the early activism of the second wave of feminism, its formation resulted from the tireless commitment and enthusiasm of both students and faculty. We celebrated our 40th anniversary of this founding recently. In 1989, the program found a permanent home in Cottage Number 1, an old women's dormitory built in 1884, where it has remained ever since. Now, officially the Hazel Gates Woodruff Cottage, it is still fondly referred to as the Cottage. Hopefully some of you were able to visit it earlier today, or maybe during your visit here. In 2006, the Women's Studies program became the Women and Gender Studies program, reflecting the evolution of a program that goes far beyond the traditional conceptualizations of women's issues to address broader understanding of gender and the way it intersects with race, ethnicity, nationality, sexuality, class, and ability. And finally, in 2015, our program officially became a department. We understand that change as institutional acknowledgement of the tenacity of Women and Gender Studies as a vibrant field on this and other campuses nationally. Now, throughout these historical changes, one thing has stayed consistent, and that is the passion, enthusiasm, and sheer persistence of our extraordinarily talented students. Now, these students are no doubt extraordinary, but they have not gone on this journey alone. So at this point in the ceremony, I would like to invite all the parents the families, and friends of the class of 2017 to please rise if you're able, or simply raise your hands and accept our congratulations. Thank you all for helping make this moment possible for our graduates. So each year, the Senior Colloquium votes to invite someone to speak at commencement. It is an invitation of honor, as this person represents someone who has inspired the entire class. To introduce our 2017 commencement speaker is Senior Erica Zwallen.
Hello everyone, my name is Erica, and I am honored to be introducing our class elected speaker, Professor Misri. Over the years, she has deeply informed our understanding of feminism through her intersectional, honest, and fearless approach. We would all like to thank her for challenging us to grow and for encouraging us to never stop interrogating the world we live in. Please help me in welcoming Professor Misri.
Oh my God, thank you. Thank you so much, Erica, and thank you all for this amazing honor. I must say that when I first received the invitation from Rob, telling me that our students had nominated me to speak, I did the, what? Then I realized I was reading an email and it was actually meant for me. So I accepted, of course, I was very honored, but I'll admit I balked at first a little bit because the commencement address as a genre calls for a certain kind of inspirational mode, and let's be honest, that's not what I built my brand on around here. So, it's more like a very sobering reading list of feminist self-critiques and counter-critiques, and, as Erica rightly said, I encourage them to keep interrogating, even within feminism. On top of that, I refuse to let a lot of you use your laptops in class unless it was absolutely necessary. I forbade you from using your favorite phrase, the patriarchy. Especially after you had read Chandra Mohanty, I said you can't use that, the patriarchy anymore, like it's a universal monolithic thing. And yet you forgave me for all of that. You've been very generous with me, graduates. I am so honored and humbled to address you today. So thank you so much for this honor. First and foremost. I want to also, before I carry on, acknowledge that we are on the traditional ancestral homelands of the Cheyenne and Arapaho nations. And this is their land on which we stand, and without it, there would be no university, no commencement, no graduation. So I want to begin by just noting that. And I'd like us to take a moment to look around at the class of 2017, seated here before you. And graduates, look at each other, just acknowledge who's here. This is a wonderful moment for you. But I know you've been students of WGST, and so I think I also know what you're thinking. Like, wow, this room is white. And yes, we know that diversity is a challenge in so many respects at our university as it is in the world at large. But I want us to remember that among our graduating cohort at CU, if not also in this room, are students who don't appear to fit the stereotypical image of the CU Boulder student. Among CU's cohort of 2017 are Black, Native, Latinx, Muslim, Asian students, immigrant, refugee, and undocumented students, international students, some from countries covered by the so-called Muslim ban, queer and trans students, working students who have held down more than one job as you work towards your degrees, students with disabilities, sexual assault survivors, and I know, and we're not talking about cisgender women alone. Students with pre-existing conditions, by which I mean, of course, all of you, right? Those of you who stand at the intersections of these populations, and a whole bunch of nasty women. You're here. A lot of nasty women. You are here. So one of the conventions of the commencement speech is, of course, to congratulate students for having made it to graduation ceremony through sheer dint of hard work. And certainly congratulations are due, and you have mine. You have my heartiest congratulations. But I also want to give us pause over the platitude of hard work. Although work hard you did, no doubt, no doubt. Some of you who have worked the hardest, juggling jobs, for example, or battling a hostile campus climate, are the ones who know best that you might just as easily not have made it. And had you not, you might have been labeled a quitter, a failure. Yes, you overcame odds, but you know through your training that the overcoming of odds should never be placed on individuals in a system, but on the system itself. So I want to take a moment to think about all those who meant to make it to graduation this year, but did not, could not, just yet. Either because of financial hardship, insecure immigration status, a relentless feeling that they just didn't belong here, or other reasons. But also those in this country who did not even make it to the university gates. This is not because they did not work as hard as you did, but because access to education as it is currently made available in the United States is a privilege, not a right as it should be. Never forget this. When people in power who believe that education should remain a privilege show up and pretend to be well-wishers of students, particularly minority students, sometimes even holding forth on the commencement stage, be prepared and be empowered to stand up and turn your backs to them. As I was writing the above paragraph, I admit I hesitated. We're here to celebrate those of you who are here, and to conjure up those who are not here, who are blocked from being here, is surely a downer in a moment of celebration. Like I said, I built my brand on this, so keeping it going. But in our field, we know that comfort for some often comes at the expense of others. So I want to empower you to cause discomfort. The feminist theorist Sarah Ahmed, who some of you have read with me in feminist theory, likens the feeling of comfort to the feeling of sinking into a comfortable chair. A chair molded around certain bodies and not others. She theorizes what happens when discomfort is felt. When you don't sink into that chair, when you fidget and move around, then what is in the background comes in front of you as a world that is gathered in a specific way. Discomfort, in other words, allows things to move, end quote. If we want things to move, we have to be willing to sit and squirm through discomfort, to fidget and move around. We also have to be willing to cause others discomfort. You, the products of a women and gender studies education, know this. Many a family dinner have you ruined with your willingness to cause people to fidget in their dining chairs. Keep them fidgeting, but also keep fidgeting yourself. Discomfort allows things to move. What a moment to send you out into the world with your feminist training. Seen one way, there couldn't be a worse moment. It is an uneasy time, I don't have to tell you this. You will recall that in the days immediately following the presidential election, a wall of the Women and Gender Studies cottage was plastered with racist posters. One of our faculty was placed on the infamous, and I should add, very poorly assembled, professor watch list. A Latina professor on this campus who teaches about immigration had her class disrupted by a man who told her to go back to Mexico. The intent of such attempts to intimidate your professors is to block our students from learning to perform the kind of critical thinking that is bound to emerge as a powerful mode of protest in the years to come. Thinking critically is a way of protesting the order of things. Remember this when you hear it said, very often by the 1%, that thinking is a luxury for the elite. If that is so, then we must ask why it is so. But we must also ask if it is so. I just said that there couldn't be a worse moment to send our graduates out into the world. On the other hand, there couldn't be a better moment to send you out into the world, armed with your particular intersectional, feminist, anti-racist, anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist, anti-ableist, anti-settler colonialist, did I miss anything? Training. I hope I didn't miss anything. For as women and minorities face intensified challenges, we're also in a moment of unprecedented investment in feminism as a way to rupture the racism, sexism, ableism, and overarching bigotry of the emerging order. You know by now that the massive women's marches that took place in January are estimated to be among the largest one-day protests in US history. Some of you were there, yes, raise your hand if you were at the Women's March. Quite a few of you were there, of our graduating class were there. The vibrant and critical debates around these marches, which you also followed, also reveal the internal work that remains for feminism to do in order to keep evaluating its often limited definitions of what constitutes a feminist issue, too often defined narrowly around the interests of white middle-class women alone. That work of interrogation must and will keep going. And for that to happen, we will need a broadening of the insights of feminist studies, not only on university campuses, but in the world at large. And you are the vehicle of those ideas in the world at large. Do not underestimate your agency in moving forward these insights. Many of you are doing this already. When you organize in your communities, when you join a protest march, when you post and share feminist ideas on social media or on blogs, when you're willing to cause discomfort within feminist community by naming its exclusions or its propensity to co-optation by the forces of capitalism and empire, you are doing this work of keeping feminism relevant, on its toes, and resistant to being diluted. I assure you, in the years to come, we will once again be seeing attempts to recruit feminism in the service of imperialism and colonial war. Your professors have taught you that this has happened before, how to recognize it when it is taking place. Watch out and be ready to block this co-optation. You are so well trained to do so. When one leaves the feminist community formed at university over the last 4 odd years, this is all too easy to forget, that this work matters. So you must remember. Remember your agency in moving forward these insights beyond the university. I will leave you with one last thought as you leave the university, although some of you may continue to stay with the university, go on to graduate work, and so on and so forth. One last thought, which may surprise you. As a humanities scholar in women and gender studies, I am, of course, interested in social transformation. I'm also invested, however, in preserving a space for what is often considered to be removed, indulgent, or non-expedient to the work of social transformation. Because we cannot always know in advance where an idea will take us. To think of the value of knowledge purely in terms of immediate application is to contract our view of the future into the narrow eye-hole of the present. Here I will draw on the Asian American feminist scholar Mimi Nguyen, who says, "As a scholar," and I'm quoting her, "I hear from both administrators and activists that the intellectual labor I do should yield concrete outcomes, whether in publications or grants, or in something measurable as social change. I worry about what these utilitarian and sometimes authoritarian demands mean for us, especially because I want to hold out a place for creative and intellectual labors that are slow to unfurl, or otherwise appear to the efficacious eye as useless, obscurantist, impractical, marginal, or wholly unproductive." End quote. To hold space for such creative labors when the world is burning, as it is always burning, and perhaps it feels like it is burning even more right now, in such a context, to hold space for creative labors may appear tremendously self-indulgent, I know. And yet, transformation calls for nothing less than the reinvention of thought as we know it. And seemingly wasteful and obscurantist thought is part of that effort. If this seems a luxury, again, ask why this life-preserving work of keeping our minds engaged and our futures open is a luxury. What is it about our existing arrangement of time, space, and labor that have made it so? You will keep responding, I know, to passionate calls for immediate transformation and change in our world. But I hope you'll also allow yourself occasionally to slow down, think again, think deeply as you move towards the work of transformation. Resist the binary between thought and action. This is important. I bid you farewell with all of my love as you move into and help build a feminist future for us all. A huge, huge congratulations to the class of 2017.
Thank Thank you, Dr. Misri, for reminding us about the spirit of resistance. So today, we have 2 student speakers selected by their peers who exemplify the unique voices and perspectives of our students in the department. So get ready now to be moved by these brilliant scholars. First up, Savannah Ducharme.
Thank you. Well, that's going to be tough to follow. I'd like to say thank you to Professor Misri, not only for those words, but for this semester, which I think really affected me as a feminist. So hello. Wow. These past 4 years have challenged me and allowed me to cultivate a sense of personhood beyond myself and beyond my lifetime. The opportunity alone to work alongside some of the bravest, kindest, most radical individuals I may ever know leaves me with sincere gratitude. I have found my mentors here. With every professor, I grew a greater connectedness to feminism as an intersectional force. But coming up here today, I realized I really just want to tell you a story about my mom. Sorry. A story about why she's the reason I am speaking to you now. I remember what it felt like to watch her dance in a room full of people, eyes closed, hands high, her fingers tapped gently as she rocks onto her toes. I remember when she would roll the windows all the way down and play the music so loud. I would scream. Well, few words I knew and she knew them all. I remember watching her garden and handle the bits of forgotten city with care and patience that begged more and more to bloom. I'm really proud to be like my mom. She is unapologetically herself, and yet still possesses the humility that it takes to continue to learn. She stands up for what is good and what is true, and she stood up for me. So, when we're girls, we're told to shrink up and to make ourselves small, and she made me feel big. She made me feel so big. I feel most accomplished whenever I am around her. As a first-generation college student, I have the honor of earning my degrees and knowing the pride it offers my mom. She never forgets to tell me how proud she is of me. On International Women's Day this year, she texted me, "You are the biggest inspiration in my whole life. I adore you. You are such a gift." She is the person who pushes me to be the best version of myself, to be a feminist with unwavering belief in my convictions. In many ways, we dedicated our lives to each other. And that is why I dedicate this, all of this, to her. Thank you.
And our next speaker is Samantha Miller.
That's going to be exceptionally hard to follow. Hello, everyone. Okay, give me a second. I'm sorry. Okay. First, I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I first sat down to write this the day after the presidential inauguration and struggled to think of what to say in the face of that reality. Should I have gone down the rabbit hole and made a zealous speech about how we will all fight a grueling and heartbreaking fight for the foreseeable future? Were those the emotions that I was going to choose to employ in the face of deep hatred and bigotry personally? And in that instance, I remembered something that will probably shape the course of my life for years to come. In a Cuban hostel 2 years prior to this moment, I had someone who has played an enormously influential role in not only my college career, but my life, hand me a little piece of paper. And on that piece of paper was my handwritten award for Big Feminist Heart. Quote, open to the world. And in that moment, I made a decision, not only about the course of my life, but about what I want to iterate to you, my beautiful peers and mentors, whom I owe so much of myself to today. I want to iterate the depth of my love, not only for this world that works so desperately to prove my efforts futile, but for all of you. My often ill-advised sense of wonder and hope for our future that my interactions with all of you have only more deeply solidified. The capacity for love and good that I have seen over and over that has pushed me to do better and be better. In the past 4 years, I have laughed until I cried, cried until I laughed, and experienced things that completely exceeded the dreams of a young girl from a rural town in New Jersey. College is supposed to be a time where you expand yourself. Take the things you thought you knew and drastically flip them on their heads. I, for one, know that has definitely occurred in my time here. I'm filled to the brim with something that is almost indescribable. Love, confusion, adoration, anger, passion, disappointment, the adjectives abound. The things you have shown me and taught me, the things that you have helped me realize were important. A capacity for recognition and a willingness to evolve because of that. I'm an intersectional feminist who is invested in a historical recognition of my place in our movement. History shows that feminism has been flawed and oppressive, and I will not forget those moments. The moments where my ancestors, white women with economic security and privileged access, denied people their rights in liberating adjudication because of a difference in ethnicity or gender identification or sexual orientation or class. That Black people are murdered in the streets at the hands of those designated to protect us. That femme immigrants and refugees face some of the highest levels of sexual violence because of the insecurities and opportunities for abuse built into our system of immigration. That trans people are subject to brutal violence and then denied access to basic health care based on assumed genitals. That 53% of white women voted for an administration that represents a real threat to so many of us. Showing that solidarity should not be assumed. I will not forget that, and I will not replicate it. Recognition of this, though, cannot diminish my vigor because of discomfort. What it requires is an excess of it. Because to me, being a feminist means being actively anti-racist and pro-immigrant rights and pro-economic equality and pro-queer identifications. It means repeatedly denouncing hatred and systems of oppression into the abyss if necessary until it sticks. Being a feminist means being open to the shades of our world and creating a system that protects and uplifts them all. So I implore us all to hold on to our empathy and our future endeavors with all we have. Hold it tightly against our chests as to not let it get away. Keep our hearts open to our dysfunctional and chaotic world, no matter how soul-shattering that task is. Do not lose the anger that rightfully pushes us forward, but do not let it work its way into the depths of our hearts and overtake those things that make us good. Reject toxicity. Be kind to one another. Rift and then heal in catharsis. Recognize our roles critically and work to make them as productive and powerful as they can be. A very wise man once told me, evil is often one moment that resonates for longer than we feel we can handle. Benevolence must be 1,000 moments of repetitive good that shape the trajectory of our future. Despite that. Sometimes those words drive me insane, especially as of late. But I refuse to let them go. Love is an active verb, something transformative and radical. We must love avidly and openly. We must look into ourselves for the strength to love and find the places where that love is the most transformative. Hold the world in our hands and give to it our passions, our gifts, our discontents and our criticisms, our respect and openness and willingness to evolve. Provide yourself with the love you need to endure. Live and listen with presence, and maybe those words that brought about so many paradigm shifts for us during our time here will drastically change the course of our history. Those moments of benevolence will build and shape the trajectory of our future for ourselves and our neighbors and our children and our future. Che Guevara once said, at the risk of sounding ridiculous, which I probably did, let me say that the true revolutionary is guided by a great feeling of love. I'm not gonna lie, if I was gonna trust anyone with a revolution, it would be Che Guevara. So take that fire that this institution was meant to light and revolutionize this world. Revolutionize it with your love and your anger and the knowledge that those 1,000 moments don't happen solitarily. Thank you.
Thank you, Savannah and Samantha, for your speeches and for encouraging all of us to have big feminist hearts. So, we're now moving to our awards section of the ceremony. The department has several scholarship and awards, and it is a pleasure to announce the recipients today. Descriptions of each award can be found in your programs. And as a longtime member of the awards committee, I can say that the pool of applicants every year is always fierce and inspiring. This year was no different, a testament to the excellence of today's recipients who rose to the top. Joining me on stage to recognize the scholarship winners is Dr. Allison Jagger, Professor of Distinction and Faculty in Women and Gender Studies and Philosophy. So our first award today is the Lucille Berkeley Buchanan Scholarship, named in honor of the first Black female graduate of the University of Colorado. This scholarship is awarded to a student who demonstrates a commitment to social justice and who may be the first generation in her family to attend college. So I'll now ask the recipient, as well as the rest of the students today, to please come up on this point to the right of the stage as we announce your award or your degree, and then to exit on this side of the stage. So the recipient of the Lucille Berkeley Buchanan Scholarship is Jacqueline Tillman. So Jacqueline, the committee was greatly impressed by Jacqueline's deep and unwavering commitment to feminist movements that are intersectional from the bottom up. In particular, Jacqueline's advocacy has brought much needed attention to the issues of sexual assault in society. In her extensive volunteer work at numerous community organizations, she has supported rape survivors, answered crisis hotline calls, and advocated for Spanish speakers and the need for bilingual volunteer-operated hotlines. Jacqueline, the committee agreed that your work embodies the spirit of the Lucille Berkeley Buchanan Award. Congratulations. Next, we have the Jean Dubofsky Scholarship, given in honor of the first woman to serve on the Colorado Supreme Court, a Boulder attorney who has worked tirelessly on civil rights issues. Jean was unable to join us today, but we appreciate her long-standing involvement and support of our department. The award is given to a Women and Gender Studies major and is based on academic record, education, and career goals, community and campus service, and a demonstrated commitment to combating oppression in all its forms. This year, the award goes to Oriana Richmond. So Oriana is a passionate advocate of access to reproductive health care. Locally, she helped found the student group Buffs for Reproductive Justice. Yes. An organization dedicated to providing students with an inclusive, intersectional, and pro-choice environment in which to cultivate activism, to promote an inclusive, intersectional, and pro-choice environment in which to cultivate activism and community. Recently, she flew to Washington with Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains to participate in national level advocacy for these urgent issues of reproductive justice. The committee could not think of another better candidate for this scholarship than Oriana. Congratulations. Our third scholarship this year is the Andermark Shikonia Scholarship, And this new scholarship was established just this year by the Italian department faculty members Giorgio Corda and Valeria Ferme, also the Associate Dean of Humanities. And are Doctors Cordo or Ferme here today? Well, we thank them for their support of the department. So they created this new award to acknowledge their mothers, Renata Andermark and Patricia Chiconia, and the important role that their mothers played in their lives. In the spirit of compassion, understanding, social justice, and academic pursuit, the scholarship is awarded annually to support a student in the Italian or Women and Gender Studies departments at CU Boulder. This year, the award goes to Katie Wallace. So Katie's work in gender and politics demonstrates the true power of civic engagement and academic inquiry. She has worked as a legislative aide in the Colorado State House of Representatives and was involved in the drafting of several bills that exemplify feminist values. She has volunteered at MESA, which stands for Moving to End Sexual Assault, and at the Safe House Progressive Alliance for Nonviolence. In her application, Katie wrote, "Women's studies is by its very existence is social change, and progressive social change necessitates the equity and criticality prompted and promoted through women's studies. There is no better degree suited to this work, and I am honored to participate in this department." Katie, congratulations. We too are honored that you are part of the department, and we believe you reflect the spirit of this award. Thank you. So congratulations to all of our scholarship recipients. We look forward to hearing more about your achievements as you complete your studies in the coming semesters. And thank you, Dr. Jagger. So joining me now to help hand out the two distinguished awards is Robert Wyrod, an assistant professor of Women and Gender Studies and International Affairs. So our next award is the Excellence in Inclusion Award, established just last year. The award recognizes outstanding student projects that explore issues pertaining to diversity and inclusion at CU Boulder and more broadly. It is designed to help foster an inclusive and welcoming campus climate for students of all backgrounds, including first-generation students, minority students, women, LGBTQ students, and other historically underrepresented groups. Now, students from across campus are invited to submit research or creative works for consideration by a committee made up by faculty, staff, and students from our department. The award comes with a cash prize and is generally awarded to 2 students each year. So for our first award, I would like to invite Hara Hashmi to come up to the stage. So Hara receives this award for her video project, Building the Difficult Bridges. Hara is a student in molecular biology and has served as the president of the Muslim Student Association. In her video, she talks about her identity as a Muslim American, a woman, an immigrant, and a student. She describes the pressures she often feels to represent the entire Muslim community. After an experience in the classroom where a fellow student asked her, quote, "Why are Muslims so violent?" she created an online resource of 5,600 cited instances of Muslims who have actually condemned violence. This went viral and became the website muslimscondemn.com, an ongoing initiative to fight Islamophobia. These projects and Hara's continuing efforts to engage her fellow students in difficult conversations are making an important difference in our campus community and beyond. Our second Excellence in Inclusion Award winner is Tuluwani Abewoli. Is Tuluwani here? All right, well, I'll go ahead and describe the recipient. So she's an ethnic studies major, and in 2015, she was named the inaugural Denver Youth Poet Laureate. And she receives this award for her poetry collection, On Those Who Shapeshift to Survive. Her poetry speaks to her own struggles trying to blend in American culture, while still trying to maintain her African cultural identity. With these poems, she hopes to speak to the many other students who struggle with these issues and to reach out to those who have never considered them. So a round of applause, even though she's not here. So congratulations to both of you. We established this award in large part to learn from our students about themselves and issues of inclusivity, and we thank you sincerely for sharing your work with us. We will share these amazing projects on our website as we continue to engage in discussions and to learn from our students about these ideas of inclusion. Last but certainly not least, is the Joanne Easley Arnold Outstanding Senior Award, an award named in honor of a professor emerita of CU's School of Journalism and Mass Communication. It's named after her for her longtime support of our program. So Joanne passed away a few years ago, but this very special award is given to a graduating Women and Gender Studies student for outstanding leadership and service to the department. It is awarded to someone that the faculty and staff have admired for their commitment to the program and for whom there may not have yet have been any formal recognition through one of our other scholarships or awards. This year, and the students don't know who it is yet, so this year, the Outstanding Senior Award goes to someone who goes above and beyond in everything that she has set out to do. She is a scholar, an activist, an artist, and she has used all of those characteristics and talents in her contributions to the department. Professors who have had her in class note that she is the ideal student. She comes prepared, engaged, and she raises important and challenging questions from the course material. Through her active membership in the Gender Justice League and her work at both the Dennis Small Cultural Center and the Women's Resource Center, she has taken a leading role in planning numerous intersectional, feminist, and social justice-oriented events on campus. She has inspired many of our students, our staff, and our faculty, and on behalf of the Award Selection Committee and the entire department, it is my honor to give this year's Joanne Easley Arnold Outstanding Senior Award to Savannah Deschamps. All right, and now for the moment that many of you have been patiently awaiting, the presentation of our graduates. If you're following along in the program, you will notice that there are some names that we will not read out loud. Some of our graduates are participating in other graduations on campus and are unable to attend. So let's begin with the graduate certificates. The graduate certificate in Women and Gender Studies is designed to complement or as a complement to a graduate disciplinary program. Students in the program come from a wide array of disciplines on campus, including but not limited to dance, theater, sociology, political science, communication, environmental studies, philosophy, and religious studies. So please come to the stage as I read your name. Professor Rob Buffington will present these students with their graduate certificates. All right, so Cassandra Gonzalez. Cassie is graduating with a master's degree in sociology and a graduate certificate in women and gender studies with her thesis, Race, Gender, and Domestic Human Trafficking, an intersectional description of human trafficking cases at the state level. Cassie notes that the Women in Gender Studies certificate has provided her with a knowledge of how to conduct feminist-based research wherein issues of gender that are interconnected are analyzed, rather than simply adding women to the research. And she's also interested in how to use inclusive methodological approaches. Congratulations. Shannon O'Sullivan. Shannon is graduating with our graduate certificate and a PhD in media studies with her dissertation titled Frontiersmen Are the Real Men in Trump's America, Hegemonic Masculinity at Work on U.S. Cable's version of blue-collar reality. Shannon notes that the Women in Gender Studies certificate has been foundational to her theoretical and methodological underpinnings of her dissertation and wider interdisciplinary research agenda. Congratulations. Olivia Mickle. Olivia completed her graduate certificate along with a master's degree in English. Her research area is the writing of British and American women living and traveling in China in the early 20th century. Olivia notes that the Women in Gender Studies certificate has been the most important part of her degree. She says it has been absolutely critical in her endeavor to bring more women's voices and women's lives to light, and she hopes to teach women's studies at the college level herself next year. Congratulations. Heather Stewart. Heather is receiving her master's in philosophy along with a graduate certificate in women and gender studies. Her research areas are primarily bioethics, social and political philosophy, and feminist philosophy. And her thesis, advised by Dr. Allison Jagger, is titled Institutional Uptake, Extending Theories of Uptake Beyond the Interpersonal. Heather says that completing the certificate has helped expand her familiarity with more diverse approaches to feminist methodologies and theories, which she can bring to bear on her philosophical work moving forward. Specifically, it allowed her to dive further into the gender dimensions of global justice, an area of personal philosophical interest. Congratulations. Our next graduate certificate, Patrick Johnson. Patrick has completed his graduate certificate along with a PhD in media studies with his dissertation titled Digital Coming Out, The Politics of LGBTQ Culture in Social Media. He notes that the graduate certificate has been incredibly influential in informing both the theoretical framing and methodology of his dissertation, and it helped him to decide to ensure that there is a public scholarship portion of the project to help the LGBT community. Congratulations. And our final graduate certificate, Kathleen Kriska. Join me on stage. So Kathleen completed her bachelor's in film studies and a master's degree in art and art history this past December with a thesis on Iranian cinema. Kathleen notes that the Women in Gender Studies certificate has contributed to her scholarship in viewing all cinemas with a feminist lens as a primary focus. Congratulations, Kathleen. All right, now we move to our undergraduates. First we have our minors. So to earn a Women in Gender Studies minor, students must take a minimum of 21 hours of Women in Gender Studies classes. As our students will attest, these are not easy classes. They challenge students to think critically locally as well as globally, and across intersections of race, ethnicity, class, and sexuality. Now, students, as I read your names, please come up these stairs, and to help with the flow, because we have so many minors, when one student is crossing the stage, ask that the next student in the row stand to the right of the stage with Alicia Turchet. Thank you. All right, so for each student, I will be reading a brief statement that they have written, and presenting the candidates for the minor in Women and Gender Studies is Professor Janet Jacobs. All right, our first minor recipient is Kat Bayardi. Kat? All right, Kat is graduating, get this, in 3 years with a double major in psychology and sociology and a minor in women and gender studies. Kat has received the Chancellor's Scholarship for the duration of their time here and has been a member of the Gender Justice League and a peer leader for the Gender and Sexuality Center. Kat would like to thank all of the other members of the Gender Justice League, as well as some amazing professors for helping them along their feminist activist journey. Kat would specifically like to thank Professor Montoya, Professor David, and Professor Misri for continually expanding their understanding and commitment to social justice and intersectional feminism. Thank you, Kat. Congratulations. Our next minor is James Dennehy. James is graduating magna cum laude in classics with a second major in biochemistry and minors in leadership and women and gender studies. He is a 4-year rower for CU's crew team and will be pursuing a career in medicine after graduation. He appreciates how women and gender studies contributed to his other academic fields and is very grateful for his family's support. Congratulations, James. Emma Easterly, our next minor recipient. Emma is double majoring in psychology and neuroscience with a minor in women and gender studies. She is planning to go on to graduate school and there study social neuroscience. Congratulations, Emma. Ashlyn Ellison. Ashlyn is a first-generation graduate with degrees in English literature and women and gender studies. She plans on pursuing a master's in gender studies and becoming a professor. Congratulations. Laura Goldstein. Laura is graduating with a major in sociology and a minor in women and gender studies. Laura is graduating with distinction after making the Dean's List each semester and being involved in various groups and activities, including Triota Honor Society, Collegiate Scholars, and more. She would like to thank her friends, her family, and the women and gender studies staff members for all that they have helped her with. Thanks, Laura. Congratulations. Our next minor is Nicole Hagan. Nicole is majoring in environmental design with minors in business and women and gender studies. She would like to thank her mom for providing her with support throughout her college experience, writing, quote, I would not have been able to do it without her. She will be traveling to Ecuador on a volunteer trip to rebuild houses for families that have been affected by earthquakes. Congratulations, Nicole. Is Ayoko Itoye? All right, Audrey Lenker. Audrey is thrilled to be receiving a bachelor's in sociology with a minor in women and gender studies. During her time at CU, she acted as president of Triota, the Women and Gender Studies Honor Society, and performed in the Vagina Monologues, through which her admiration of women and their strength grew tremendously. Audrey spent her final semester studying Swedish culture at Uppsala University in Sweden, and she wants to thank her mom, dad, brother, and Karl Marx for making her the woman that she is today. Our next minor is Jessica Mazuka. Jessica is graduating with a degree in psychology and a minor in women and gender studies. After her first women and gender studies course, Jessica writes that it became clear that it was absolutely necessary to continue with these classes. They provided her with emotional support and the vocabulary she needed to understand the issues that she faces every day. Jessica would like to say thank you to all of her professors who nourished her education and encouraged her thinking. And she would also like to say thank you to her family and her friends for all their love and support. Congratulations, Jessica. Olivia Wells. Olivia is an integrative physiology major and a women and gender studies minor. She would like to thank her parents for their support throughout her academic career, and she says she couldn't have done this without them. The Women and Gender Studies department has taught her more than she ever could have imagined, and she is forever thankful to be part of such a loving, inclusive, and intelligent community. Congratulations, Olivia. And now for our majors. So to earn a major in Women and Gender Studies, students must complete a minimum of 36 credit hours, including required courses like Feminist Theories and Senior Colloquium, which some have described to me as a rite of passage of sorts. So, seniors, we are proud of what you have accomplished, and it is an honor as well as a great privilege to introduce our graduating candidates for the Bachelor of Arts degree in Women and Gender Studies. Joining me on stage to present the undergraduate candidates for the degree in Women and Gender Studies is Professor Celeste Montoya. Jocelyn Becerra Garcia. Jocelyn is a first-generation Latina double majoring in psychology and women and gender studies. During her time at CU, she worked at the Women's Resource Center and the pre-collegiate development programs. She has volunteered at Safe House Progressive Alliance for Nonviolence and will be working with them as a bilingual shelter advocate after graduation. She will forever be thankful to the Women and Gender Studies Department for supporting and guiding her on her journey to be bold enough to think that she is capable and worthy of pursuing dreams that seemed impossible. Congratulations, Jessica. Savannah Ducharme. Savannah is graduating with a double major in Women and Gender Studies and International Affairs, as well as the certificate in Global Gender and Sexuality Studies. She is a member of the Gender Justice League, the Triota Honor Society, and a staff member of the Women's Resource Center. She would like to thank her fellow feminists, Professor Montoya, and the staff at the WRC for making her a better feminist. We got a point. Future plans include growing old and senile in a warm place. Our next graduate is Isabella Fry. Isabella is a Women and Gender Studies and Ecology and Evolutionary Biology double major with a minor in creative writing. Isabella has also earned certificates in LGBTQ studies and public health. Isabella writes, "I am so glad to have found a major that has allowed me to grow so much. And I would like to thank Sam Bullington, especially for not only introducing me to feminist and queer theory, but for being so affirming and supportive to all his students. His classes changed my perspective on life every time I took one. I would also like to thank my friends for all their support and encouragement throughout the years. I never would have made it without them. Thank you. Congratulations, Isabella. Caitlin Gertze. Caitlin is graduating with a double major in political science and women and gender studies and a minor in sociology. She is currently volunteering at Safe House Progressive Alliance as a children's volunteer. She would like to thank her mom for supporting her throughout her time at CU, her friends for helping her become the feminist that she is today, and all the sexists of the world for giving her something to fight against. Caitlin's life after graduation will include continuing to work with victims of domestic violence and adopting more cats. Congratulations. Our next graduate is Steve Hopkins. So Steve is graduating with degrees in both political science and women and gender studies. Steve would like to say thank you to her mother and incredible friends for supporting her and helping her through this. Future plans include getting a proper night's sleep, attending the University of New Hampshire's Political Science graduate program, to which he has been accepted, and doing her damnedest to make the future a little more caring. Congratulations, Steve. Matthew Cariasis. Matthew is graduating with a double major in anthropology and women and gender studies. He would like to thank his parents for their emotional support, the faculty and staff of the department for their critical and thoughtful work, and all friends, comrades, and activists that strive for a better world. He plans to devote his time and activism he plans to devote his time to activism and further academic participation. Congratulations. Phoebe Lyle. Phoebe is graduating with a double major in ecology and evolutionary biology and women and gender studies, and plans to pursue a certification in clinical lab science. She would like to thank her parents, Renee, the women of Tri Delta, and all of her friends for the support throughout the years. Congratulations, Phoebe. Steve Marcantonio. Steve is graduating with a double degree in women and gender studies, as well as ethnic studies, with a minor in leadership. He has spent the last 3 years doing sex education activism and plans on applying for graduate programs this fall. He would like to thank all of his professors for educating him so well. When he came into college, he wondered, quote, "What am I?" And now he wonders, what is I? Anyway. Congratulations, Steve. Gina McLaughlin. Gina is graduating with a dual degree in Women and Gender Studies and Political Science. She has been a member of Gender Justice League and the Gender Studies Honor Society Triota. She's been a court advocate for the Safe House Progressive Alliance for Nonviolence and the president of the Gay Straight Alliance. She'd like to thank her family she was born with and the family she's made here for all the support. Also, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Future plans include becoming a real housewife of Boulder County. Kristen McNeil. Kristen is graduating with degrees in Women and Gender Studies and Psychology. While at CU, she worked as a resident advisor and served as the vice president of the Colorado chapter of an international nonprofit. After graduation, she is traveling to Egypt to work with Syrian refugees and then plans to attend law school. Congratulations, Kristen. Samantha Miller. Samantha is graduating in the fields of Women and Gender Studies and Political Science as president of the Women and Gender Studies Honor Society, Triota, and member of the Gender Justice League. She is grateful for the friends, mentors, and family who have supported her along the way. Future plans include dismantling white heteronormative male supremacy and chewing gum. Spoiler alert, she's all out of gum.